Good morning, everyone. Glad to be here this morning, and I've been in Richmond for a little over 20 years, and I've worked in some of the most challenged communities in Richmond for the entire time. I've worked in Gilpin Court, I've worked in Blackwell, I've worked in Afton, Hillside, you name it, I've been there, I've seen it all, but it hasn't been until this last year and a half, and when I was afforded the opportunity to serve as executive director at Peter Paul Development Center, that I was convicted. I was totally convicted. And what I mean by that is my perspective shifted on what I was doing for the community I served and I claim to care for. We run all these programs for our kids, run all these programs and provide all these services for the families in the communities we serve. But what Richmond and we as service providers do a terrible job of is we don't first find out what they can do for themselves. We don't do a great job of that. We don't find opportunities for those we serve to realize their self-worth. We give, and we never figure out, what can they give? What can they contribute? And I've just been convicted by that. Poverty breeds a sense of entitlement, a sense of dependency. And this structure of poverty that exists here in Richmond and has existed for generations since these public housing communities were established have really perpetuated this sense of entitlement for years. The families and children I serve have forgotten that they have so much within them that they can offer. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine yourself as a single mother, 3 kids, living in Churchill. And I serve, 4 of the largest housing communities in the city of Richmond right now. You're a single mother with 3 kids, and you're living off of less than $8,000 a year. And it's Christmas time. And you want to provide for your children for Christmas, right? First year, you struggle, but you're able to provide for your children. The second year, it's a bit more challenging. So maybe the kids only get 1 gift apiece. The third year, it's even more challenging. You're looking for resources to support your efforts. Fourth year, you can't do it on your own. You don't have it in you. And so you're dependent on someone else to provide for you. What does that do for your psyche? What does that do for your mentality? What does that do for your sense of pride and your ability to provide for your own? That's what Richmond has done. That's what we as service providers have done. Is we've stripped this pride and self-worth from those we serve. Aren't we doing our families and our kids a disservice? Think about it like this, and this is a part of our philosophy at Peter Paul when we're working with our kids. We set our bar very high for our children. We don't believe that our children are products of their environments. They're products of expectations. So we set the bar very high. Our children are not at risk. They're undiscovered. The difference is that we are doing our children a disservice by just basically saying that because they're from these challenged communities, they can only do but so much. That's unfair. That's why I'm convicted. What I ask you all to do is to support a new approach. I'm not saying that we stop giving. As we already indicated, $1.5 million over 24 hours over a couple days ago, right? We're a very charitable, giving community. So I'm not saying that we should stop giving. I'm asking us to think about the recipient. And what is that gift doing to the recipient? If it's not doing something for the recipient, think about it. We as service providers have to think about, in order to receive these gifts, have we thought about what this recipient is in turn going to do for their own community, for their own children, for themselves? Is it building them up, or are we continuing to enable them? That's our challenge. I'll tell you a story. Years ago, I worked for another youth development organization. We would have annual Thanksgiving dinners. And, months leading up into that Thanksgiving dinner, my staff and I and volunteers from outside of the community would come in, and we would scramble to plan and implement these events. And the families would come in for the program and hear the speakers and eat the dinner, and they may say thank you, they may not, and then they're going about their business. They would go home. And we would pat ourselves on the back. Oh, man, that was great. That went over so well. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago when I started to look back on that experience, and I said, you know what? We did it. That was not a success. So what happened over the next couple of years, and what I'm really proud about, it was that at one point we started to ask our parents to prepare the turkeys, prepare the side dishes, help to put the food on the plates, decorate for the events, promote the event to other parents in the communities and those kinds of things. That was a success. That wasn't me doing for. That was them doing for themselves, feeling pride about what they had done. That's investment in your community. That's investment in your family. That's what we have to do. That's what we're doing now at Peter Paul. And I think that's exactly what we have to continue to think about and do more of. Tell you another story about, if we're talking about parents and how we can hold parents accountable for making the appropriate decisions for their children. I had a mother to come into my office a couple of years ago. Her son was in 5th grade, and she was irate because we were going to remove her child from our program. There's an expectation that our children are with us each and every day. Otherwise, our model for individualized education doesn't work. So if they're not there, it doesn't work. And she was waving her finger around, talking about, you can't kick my child out of your program. He's got to go to football practice. I said, ma'am, okay, your child may not pass 5th grade. Based on these scores, your child may not pass 5th grade. And you're talking to me about going to football practice. I said, so either your child can be in the seat tomorrow afternoon and receive all of the benefits that we are offering your child and everyone else in this program, or you can go to football practice. I'll guarantee you your child will pass 5th grade this year, or he can play football with the upcoming 5th graders next year. That's a decision you have to make. It's about holding parents accountable and not accommodating parents, particularly parents from challenged situations. Just because they live in a challenged community doesn't mean that we have to back off of our expectations. We don't. That's the disservice. To kind of wrap it up, a story that was told to me not too long ago, as a matter of fact, is it goes like this. It's imagine a cage, and in that cage is an animal. Let's call this cage the Churchill community, the housing communities in Churchill. So you've got this animal in a cage, and for 18 years, you feed this animal. You give this animal everything it needs just to survive. It's not a lavish life, but you give it everything it needs to survive. Okay? So let's call that public assistance. Let's call that charity. Let's call all those things that you need to survive. And after 18 years, you open this cage door and you let this animal out and you ask it to hunt. That animal has not been equipped, nor does it know how to hunt, because it's been given everything. We haven't taught the animal how to hunt, or we haven't taught the student how to learn. We haven't taught the animal how to be successful. So what happens when that animal leaves the cage and it doesn't know how to hunt? You'll find out on the 11 o'clock news. When you look at the news at 11 o'clock, you'll see what happens to an animal who doesn't know how to hunt. Now, that animal could be a 21-year-old African-American male from the Churchill community. I ask you all to support Peter Paul. I ask you all to support a new approach for the nonprofit community and service providers to really challenge those we serve to give back to Richmond. Otherwise, we'll never be this first-tier city we claim to be. But we can get there. But it takes all of us. It takes our most challenged. It takes our most affluent. We have to work together and hold each other accountable. So thank you so much.